I have an interesting one for you. What happens when YouTube releases a tool that actually has a negative impact on your channel? Well, I think we found the perfect example. Now, don't get me wrong, I love YouTube's community tab. It's a way of reaching your audience on a daily basis so you're not having to try and post videos every single day. YouTube news, voting polls, memes, questions we can ask our community. All of this can be funneled through these posts that take no longer than 5 minutes a day. And so when YouTube announced that they were opening up the community tab to everybody, naturally, I was intrigued and a little excited. YouTube boasted that it would be a whole new level of interaction and it would take some of the pressure off you always being present and making content if your community was doing a job for you. And so naturally, when YouTube invited us to test out the communities feature, we immediately said yes and turned it on. And it was useful to see that some basic safeguarding controls had been put in place. There were the same moderation controls that you find with comments, and viewers had to be subscribed to the channel, and you could set how long they needed to be subscribed to the channel before they could post on the community tab, either a day or a week. That would, of course, prevent any immediate trolling of your community posts. So we felt safe turning this feature on, and when we did, yeah, we got absolutely inundated with viewer posts. But before we go any further, we need to stop for a second because this is a pretty big change for any YouTube channel. You're essentially going from just the channel creator, us being able to post stuff on our community tab, to absolutely anybody being able to do it. And when it comes to the discovery and the engagement of that content, YouTube tracks quite a lot of the data behind it. In the channel analytics section of the YouTube Studio, if you go to the content tab and then posts, you'll see your analytics for your community tab posts. And what I'm showing you here are the analytics for the month before we turned on the communities feature. 2.5 million impressions, 50,000 likes, 1,000 subscribers. And the very rough numbers tend to be tens of thousands of impressions a day, thousands of likes a day, and a couple of dozen subscribers per day. So we have a rough idea of how the channel's community posts perform on a daily basis before we turn this new feature on. And so naturally, you would assume that with more community posts from our viewers, discovery and engagement numbers would go up. As for what actually happened, well, I've kind of spoiled that already in the intro to this video, haven't I? As mentioned earlier, our community board got absolutely flooded. In the first 3 days alone, we received over 250 viewer posts. And the simple truth is, all of these community posts from viewers weren't getting much engagement at all. As you can see, likes and comments were in the single digits. So it is pretty irrelevant the number of community posts you're receiving if none of them get any engagement. But what about the daily community posts we were still pushing out to our own channel? Well, I would say that's pretty obvious from just looking at this graph by itself. It basically shows you the exact day when we turned the feature on. Prior to it being on, we had impressions in the tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands. After we switched it on, our impressions flatlined to around about 35,000 and wouldn't budge from there. As for likes on community posts, the drop-off was even more stark, going from thousands to a couple of hundred. Sometimes we got minus likes. I don't even know if that's possible. And the situation for subscribers that came from community posts was pretty dire as well, falling into the single digits. To be clear, we did not stop posting on our community tab. We have a regular cadence of at least one community post per day. You know what this reminds me of? When there is a sudden and dramatically negative change to somebody's channel, the first word that comes to mind is shadow banned. The only difference is we know what we changed. Now, it's impossible to know whether or not the viewers' community post data were being merged with our community post data. I would suspect not, but I don't know where those minus dislikes came from. Maybe people were disliking the viewer posts en masse, but you just can't see that data anywhere. What I do know is that for the month of February 2025, when we had the viewers' community feature turned on, our community post performed dreadfully. The numbers clearly tell the story. Impressions down 58%, likes down 75%, subscribers down 70%. Even our voting polls, which typically get 20,000 votes or more, were way down. By any metric you measured this, it was an unmitigated disaster. So in a situation like this, with numbers like that, there's only one solution, right? Turn it off and see what happens. And let me tell you this, when you do turn off this feature, it is literally as if it never existed. Not only do the posts disappear from the front end, so viewers can't see any posts that were already made, but they all disappear from the back end as well. All the previous community posts will be retrieved if you turn it back on, but when it's off, there is nothing there. And so onto those all important numbers, and here we have another night and day transformation in the positive this time. For the month of February, we had the feature on the first day of March, we turned it off. And you can see that the daily number for impressions, likes, and subscribers all recovered strongly. Impressions up 75%, likes up 200%, subscriber counts up 130%. There is a foundational and ethical principle in healthcare that is, do no harm. In the pursuit of making things better, the last thing you do is make things worse. And with that thought in mind, I present to you YouTube's Communities feature. It appears to do more harm than good. But is it as simple as that? Most of the posts being made on our community tab were creators celebrating achievements, creators asking for help, views, and watch hours, creators promoting their own channels, creators asking for shout-outs, or creators posting AI pictures of Ronaldo and Messi finally getting along. The golden rule of any content that is posted online is that it should provide value. And I'm afraid to say, our community simply wasn't doing that with the stuff they were posting on our community tab. So is it your fault the vidIQ community can't have nice things? Or is this just what happens when you open up a feature to pretty much anyone on YouTube? To try and compare this, I have been following another channel closely called Froggy Crossing that has had this community feature enabled for months. Now yes, they have got some high engagement posts on their communities feature, but they are definitely the exception rather than the rule. My best guess is that when a channel's community posts go from 1 or 2 a day to more than 50 a day from viewers, that generates an incredible amount of noise. And that's noise that's not being engaged with, and it's not satisfying the users of YouTube either. So YouTube naturally is going to suppress the discovery of that content from that channel. Actually, you know what this is a really good argument for? Quality over quantity. We know how to speak to our community to give them value and engage with them, whereas our community doesn't necessarily know how to speak to each other and how often to speak to each other. Because yeah, maybe 50 posts a day is a little too much for the YouTube community tab, but not for our Discord group. If you want to join it, link is in the description. So is the YouTube Communities feature a lost cause? I don't think so. And actually, I think there's a really easy way to fix this. The evidence so far clearly suggests that opening up this feature to just all subscribers is too broad. So what about just opening this feature up to members of the channel and moderators of the channel? I think those gatekeeping controls are at least worth testing. But if after all I've said, you still want to try this feature, then what you need to do is go over to the channel page, tap on the edit icon, and you should have a little tab there that says community so you can switch on. If it's not there yet, you might have to wait, which to be honest right now is probably a good thing.